New edition of Frequency Interrupted. We're just going off of neon and natural light.
Yeah. We're doing it. That was a Red Bull, not a beer.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's actually 5:21 p.m. in Argentina right now.
I'm glad you know that. You getting ready to go?
I'm fucking psyched. Pretty psyched. It's going to be a good time.
Since we're rolling already, congratulations, sir, on a couple things. One, the documentary was great.
Yeah.
Everyone enjoyed it. People were crying.
People did cry.
I wasn't crying, but my eyes were messed up that night. They were watering.
I got emotional while editing it.
Is that going to be in the shot? I might have moved that out of the way there.
No, that's not in the shot.
Okay, cool.
I can see myself. Look.
Oh, yeah. Have it down.
I'm going to put a plug in here, honey.
I'll put a little dip in.
Yeah.
We're starting this out extremely unprofessional.
Take a little dip. Here you go.
I'm totally okay. Thank you. I'm good though. Maybe later. Yeah, probably have one later. Hold on.
Brought to you by Zen Nicotine Pouches.
All right, let's do this. So yeah, what's up, dude?
What's up, man?
I'm glad you're back on, even though you're always here, but like you're on this side of it.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been that long since we actually talked.
Yeah.
But yeah, documentary went well.
Yeah.
A lot of people cried.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's on YouTube. Service Wave Media.
Chonji, that's the name of it, which in Korean means heaven and earth.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
I swear to God.
Isn't it funny how everyone could have the wrong fucking tattoos on themselves, like even 10, 15, 20 years ago, because there was no way to really know if that's real or not.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's pretty hard to mess that up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so that's the first pattern in ITF Taekwondo, and because it is like it represents the beginning of time from their perspective. It's also linear, so you're moving. When you start forward facing and then move left, back, front, like you're literally moving it across. That's the pattern.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's represents the beginning of all time. So I thought that was a pretty cool. Name for it to go with that as far as an official name.
Yeah, I was wondering what you're going to call it. We need to go. Yeah, I need to go like adjust that on some of the marketing stuff we did early on.
Well, now that it's on YouTube, it's Chonji Benton Martial Arts documentary.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about it?
About the whole body?
Yeah, the whole thing. The whole thing. Just from start to go all the way to right here.
Well, it's my first documentary, so that's pretty cool in and of itself. From everything that I've read about people that are documentary filmmakers, they pretty much say your first few films just expect to kind of eat shit, but I don't feel like we did.
No, I don't think you ate shit at all.
So that's really positive. However, I think more so the things that I've read are from the perspective of, say, you're a film student. Because if we want to be technical, my first documentary was in college.
Right. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
But not as far as something that I published, like for everybody to see. This is my first deal. But yeah, I can dig that because my first documentary, information wise, and shout out to Bill Krashiznik again. I talked about him 2 years ago on this podcast, but I love that dude. He taught me filmmaking at Bipsy. He's now back in Utah. I don't know what college he's teaching at right now, but shout out Bill. But that was one thing Bill told me. He was very critical about everything that had to do with filmmaking, because I've seen his independent films, and dude, they look incredible, like to a degree in which it was intimidating as a student. So he'd show you his stuff, and he's very humble about it. But it's like, this looks like it should be like in the damn theater. Like it's just amazing, from visuals to sound to everything, storytelling, whole nine. And so it was super intimidating when you submit something to him. You're like, dude, he's going to hate this. But I think really his idea was, okay, of course they're not going to make me something that looks like Spielberg or whatever, because they're students. So he'd be looking more so for like, okay, are you putting forth effort? Like, are your camera movements, decent? Are you telling a story?
Yeah.
Is it coherent? And I think like remember submitting a documentary to him, and he said, "Dude, I loved it." And I'm like, So I think, I don't know. I think from that point, and I'm going off on a whole nother tangent now, but I do think that is kind of his encouragement. I think is what kind of steered me in that direction, because really I was doing a lot of audio stuff when I was at Bipsy. It was more so on kind of like this side of things.
Yeah.
You know? Like worrying about audio. I thought I was going to be like a Kyle Roop, you know.
Right, producing music and stuff.
Yeah, but.
Well, no, being a teacher though, they know what they're looking for. I mean, you see so many different bodies of work, and you're like, okay, well, you did this good, and you did that good. It's kind of like being a just like a trainer or martial artist. You know, when you're training younger students, you're like, okay, well, you can do that kick well, but you're leaning too far on your forward on your leg, or you're not turning your hips over here, and things like that. So
right.
But yeah, I think it just comes with experience, right? Like.
Yeah, dude. Speaking of the martial arts stuff, when are you gonna get back punching and kicking?
Are you trying to fuck with me right now? You calling me out?
I'm just saying.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. CrossFit's kind of been the thing. I like it. I enjoy it. I can do it with my wife. Don't think I'll ever fight again. If I do, it'd be like probably down the road, like some charity bullshit, just to be funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll come mess around and spar a little bit with y'all. I'd like to go box. I've been telling Jake I'll need to come box, but dude, it's really just finding the time, because what happens is if I start doing it, I'll get consumed with it, and then it'll mess with everything else that I have going on right now in the business world.
Yeah.
And my mind will be taken off of the task at hand, and that does not need to happen to me right now. So I'm being disciplined enough in itself to say that now's not the time.
Yeah.
It is cool to drop by a gym, but when I do that, I'm cracking that door open for me to become overly obsessed with it again and jump into a training camp and take a fight just because like an idiot. And I can't do that anymore.
So you love it enough, and I think that's kind of the same issue I had with jiu-jitsu. I never even got my blue belt because I got injured so much.
Yeah.
But I think that was the same issue I had with jiu-jitsu. I really do love jiu-jitsu. However, if I go back, I'm going to have to go the Gracie route. And I've had so many guys be like, dude, this fucking bullshit, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, for me, jiu-jitsu, like Huron Gracie, I think has the best philosophy when it comes to jiu-jitsu, because really it comes from his grandfather Henzo, who said, I want people to be able to enjoy the art well into their elderly years, and you can't do that if you're if you're grinding. Like,
people can talk all the shit they want, but as long as you're doing something.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck if you're doing yoga. Like, do something.
Yeah,
do something. Challenge yourself. CrossFit's it for me right now, though. But like I said, it's because we can do it. You've been. It's like a team sport. Yeah. It's not, but it is. It's very similar to fighting, because we're all kind of in a training camp together.
Right.
We're all doing kind of the workouts together. But at the end of the day, when it's my time to compete, it's just me against that clock and all the other competitors that are. It's very, very similar to fighting, and I really think that's why I've taken to it so well, and I'm going to do that probably until I can't do it anymore.
Right.
But the great thing about it, just like with jiu-jitsu, that style of jiu-jitsu, is if you're rolling with individuals that are very knowledgeable, then you're not going to get in those situations where someone has an ego and try to break your fucking shoulder when you have them in some sort of hold to where they're just like freaking out.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with CrossFit. If you know that this shoulder's tweaked, well, you just adjust the movement, or you just don't do that movement. Or, if you can't lift heavy anymore, you just still do the movement. You just take the weight down 20 or 30%. And that's what I've been doing leading up to this competition coming up soon. It's like, the workouts and the program we're on is like calling for 85 to 90% on some of this stuff right now. I'm like, let's push it down to 70 right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any stronger in 3 weeks.
Well, it's like also who do you have something to prove to? Nobody.
Well, I'm not going to get stronger in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm as strong as I'm going to be right now. Yeah. That is it. So best thing for me to do is stay limber, keep my cardio, and to be able to have the mobility.
Right.
I'm not going to get any stronger. My strongest right now is where it's at. Now, over the past year, those strengths have immensely grown in certain areas. Yeah. I mean, my deadlift's still about the same. My squat's probably still about the same, but overhead, snatch, all those things are way more.
Yeah.
So going into a competition well-rounded is a lot better than going in strong in 2 or 3 movements. But having enough body awareness, like you're talking about, to be able to say, well, I'm going to scale this back, and I can, I'll be where I need to be.
I think a lot of that stuff, the only reason I really enjoy hanging out with you guys, but the actual, when it comes to like weights, kind of like how you're talking about with fighting, I have a really bad tendency to go so hard that I hurt myself. And I've consistently done that through the years. In 2019, well, when was that? Maybe, yeah, it was 2019. That whole year, I was in the gym 5-6 days a week. I was getting ready. I really wanted to be a cop at the time. So I got on this program and just, bullshitting with guys that were trainers and stuff. Just kind of taking what I liked from programs that other dudes were on and all that. Like, of course, a lot of them would try to get you on gear with them and shit. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But one guy made a good point to me. He came from a Taekwondo background, but he became a bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. And he said, he told me, he's like, man, he was like, if you're trying to gain muscle mass, but then also at the same time maintain good cardio and all that, he pretty much put me on a program where he was like, okay, you're going to do all your push stuff one day, all your pull stuff one day, do your legs one day, and do abs every day, and do some form of cardio every day too on top of it. Because he's like, you need to be able to run that 1.5 miles in 12 minutes or less. You need to be able to do X amount of push-ups, X amount of sit-ups, like, and excel at that. Not just meet the criteria, but also excel so you're marketable.
Yeah.
And dude, I was doing, it got pretty wild. Like, I was doing like on my push days, I was doing like 3 different movements of presses, 5 times 15 on each one, and like doing like 75 to 80% of what I was capable of doing on top of that. And like my buddies would come work out with me, and they're like, one day here and there, and they'd be like, dude, this is fucking nuts. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I realized over time, all that led up to this. It was March of 2020, like right around the time COVID got bad, right before restrictions got bad. I remember I ran a half marathon just to fucking do it. Like, I ran 13 miles just to do it because I had gotten to that point physically, and I was in a acute renal failure.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I need to chill the fuck out, because I realized at that point, I'm like, you can push this to a point where you're in such good shape that now you're actually damaging your body, because you feel like the mind thing's gone. Feeling like, oh, well, no, I can't do this. Your mind becomes strong enough to where you're like, well, yeah, I can exceed that.
Yeah, you got to keep chasing that rabbit.
Yeah,
and the rabbit, it's always gonna stay in front of you.
And it was, I don't know, man. Like, I remember like by like mile 7 or 8, even thinking like I probably should stop, but I didn't. And like, it's not to get too graphic, but yeah, dude, you're pissing blood for a few days. You're like,
I've been there. I've been there, man. I've been there. I had to go to the hospital, run all the stuff through me and all that. But that was just being careless and overworking, Yeah.
It's I don't know. I think everybody has like their own thing, and like with the fighting thing, I think honestly, dude, if it's something you feel like you're gonna take too far, it's like anything.
Well, there's nothing. What do you do? Like, why are you training if not to compete? For me, I understand in that. Okay,
yeah.
In that aspect, in CrossFit, I'm still training to compete because I can still compete.
Yeah.
In fighting, I can't compete anymore. I'm 35 years old. I'm not. Never really turned pro in a sanctioned bout like that was supposed to be. Never really. I had all these other fights, but I never really, chased that, and it was never something I gave 100%. Now in the camp, I'd give 100%, but in between camps, I was working and drinking and doing that, So like, it just never was something that I knew I was going to turn into a career.
Right.
But still, when I do it, if I do it and I jump in there and start getting into a fight camp again, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. But for what? For me?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense anymore to potentially be injured.
Yeah.
Like, not only that, where's the money? There's no money in it for me, and like my time's money right now. And if I'm not making money, I need to be with my family, not doing something to go get hit in the face for absolutely no money.
Yeah, you get to go. Yeah, you get to be with your wife.
Right, but
that's kind of the whole.
Right, so that's fun. Now, if that's what she want to do, and she want to go box, we would go do that together. That'd be great. Yeah. But it wouldn't be. It would be what I would do it with the family. You know what I mean? My daughter's doing like gymnastics and stuff now, so she practices that there, and she's doing a little bit of weightlifting early on. So like, we can all do that together. If they want to go to the boxing gym and do that, we'll pivot and do that. We can't do both,
Yeah.
But right now it's CrossFit. But yeah, it's one of those things, man.
I think martial arts more so. We need to get Grandmaster Baker on here.
Yeah, I need to get back on. Yeah.
But it was kind of eye-opening, like sitting with him, and we talked about the documentary and all that whenever I was still in the process of finishing it and all that stuff. But I think, man, just from a philosophical standpoint, having a love for martial arts in general is one thing, but also I think each martial art has something to offer you independently, as well as there's a lot of, I mean, if we're looking at it like it's a, what do you call this, a Venn diagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at it like a Venn diagram.
Like a pie graph, you mean? Or like a Venn diagram?
Yeah, Venn diagram.
Okay,
like
yeah.
So like say you have jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, and let's say the third one is like Muay Thai or whatever. You know, there's going to be things that are different, of course, but I think like one of the common denominators in the middle of really all martial arts is just going to be, for me, I think the biggest thing is just discipline, you know, and especially when you have instructors that aren't going to allow, like Marshall Fulgham is a very perfect example of this. When you have an instructor that's going to push you to a reasonable limit, but also understand the fact that, like, you know, I'm also not going to kill these guys at the same time. Yeah. Like, you'll walk out of there and you're pouring sweat, you feel really good, but at the same time, you know, and you're going to be fucking sore too. You know what I mean? But like at the same time, it's not like, it's not grueling to the point where it's like you just rolled 12, 13 rounds on a Saturday at a jiu-jitsu gym with a bunch of dudes that are like cage fighting and shit. Exactly. That's a whole different kind of tired. That's
right, it's different training. Yeah. But I mean, that training, I mean, that's all I knew. Yeah. You know, for the longest time. I mean, for 12 years. Yeah. That's all I knew. And if I wasn't doing that, then I wasn't training. Right. You see what I'm saying? That's what I knew. That was my... It's kind of those people that say, well, I've been on my feet all day, I get steps in. No, that's your floor. Well, you're not getting your heart rate. That's your floor. Though, yeah, but your body's used to that. That is your floor. So that was my floor. If I start back boxing or doing anything, I'm going to mentally want to go back to my floor. Yeah. And that's what I'm worried about. Well, I found a new floor right now where I'm at, and we go pretty hard. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool, and it replaces that. But that's exactly that's the explanation I was kind of looking for right there. Yeah. Yeah. I think the emphasis, I don't know, and I'm not going to say one's better than the other. I just think the emphasis with Taekwondo being that it is very militant in nature, because everything is like, this is how you do your pattern. You don't deviate from that. That's exactly how you do it every single time. And the cool thing is too, like every pattern there's an intricate story behind it, even if it's just named after a general or if it's named after a historical figure in Korea. There's some intricate meaning behind each pattern that you do. And what I thought was cool too, there's 24 patterns to represent the hours in the day. I always thought that was pretty cool. But I nerded out on that as a kid, and I went like the football route, which we talked about that on the other podcast. But it's kind of cool to see like full circle. I think the bigger point I'm trying to make is like with the documentary, it was really like it did my spirit a lot of good, even though it stressed me out a lot, like up until the point of premiering it. It was worth all that stress. It was worth all that because it got me back into something that I really forgotten how much I loved it. Yeah. You know, like. And you can appreciate it different now. Yeah. You know, when you look at things now, there's appreciation, and there's a lot more knowledge and movement too. Like, there's things I look at and I watch a video, or like we were watching those old fight videos the other day. I'm watching them like I should have done that, I should have done that, I should have done that, and I knew that. Yeah. But I had some bad like muscle memory in those positions. You know what I mean? And I hadn't taken the time to work that muscle memory out. You know, but I know that now, and it's similar in like training martial arts or anything. It's like, when you're doing it at a young age, you're so distracted by everything around you. You're not, I mean, even if you're obsessed with something, you're still obsessed with a lot of things, typically. You know, if you're a typical child, like there's a lot of passion. It's not just passion in one thing. There are the select few that have that, but I feel like children find passion in everything. Right. Until they kind of hone in on what it is they do. And as you get older, you're like, well, I can see exactly what the direction is for this and the reason for this and why they made this. And you just understand stuff more, and you can appreciate it more. I definitely appreciate the history of it more, and also like I understand my body a lot more now. Yeah, that helps too. I can feel like your core. That's one thing that I really like about it too. Your core is constantly engaged. Like with Taekwondo, and I imagine karate is very similar. Kung Fu must be very similar, and just specifically
martial arts in which you have to perform patterns. It's almost like, in a sense, you talked about yoga. I kind of feel the same way, like if I go do hot yoga or something like that. Like, I feel the same way, but then there is like some hit training also, because Marshall's good about, like,
right.
you know, like, hey, y'all messed up a pattern, now we're doing push-ups. You did that, like, or you'll do circuits at the end where you're hitting a bag, then boom, you're going and doing push-ups, then you're going and doing jump rope, then like constant movement, you know. And that, to me, like, I remember in the documentary Marshall saying that, you know, coming up, which he's a little too humble, I think, at times. He's a really talented martial artist, but he's just like, yeah, I could teach a good class. But that is one thing for sure I can't tell you about him. The dude can teach a really good class. You know what I mean? Like, it's never loses his cool. Like, even when people are like doing, you know, like maybe people are messing up or whatever, like, he's like, okay, that's cool. And now we're going to do push-ups about it.
Yeah.
Until we figure it out.
Well, I think it is too. It's very, it takes a lot of talent to be able to train people that are 5 years old.
Yeah.
And then train people that are 50 years old and anywhere in between, because every single one of those sessions are completely different. They may be handled with the same, you know, strategy, but they're all completely different. How you got to handle one different than the other, you know, and you have to be extremely well rounded to do so. You can't train 5-year-olds like you can train 17-year-olds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even though they're doing the exact same patterns and movements.
Yeah. Training
sessions are completely different, and the conversation's completely different.
Right.
The environment's completely different, you know? Yeah, so it takes a talented individual to be able to do, you know, all of those things.
Yeah. Man, what else you want to talk about?
I mean, we've made some pretty big changes, man. You're in here full time doing this. Mm-hmm. That's fun. We get to hang out every day.
I have a new wife and new baby.
You got a new wife, new baby since the show? Yeah, holy shit, yeah. Since the last time you were, on. I mean, you've jumped in a couple since then, but yeah, how's that going?
It's going really well. It's pretty, it's one of the easiest decisions I ever made. In terms of marrying Brittany, that's probably the easiest decision I've ever made. Yeah. Well,
that's a good thing. A lot of times that's a hard decision for people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it shouldn't. It was like we did a podcast in here the other day with Leighton and Josh, and then Leighton's father-in-law was on, and he's done marriage counseling for a lot of couples over the years, and he says
that's got to be intimidating to have your father-in-law sitting here talking about marriage counseling.
Dude, that was
you know, if you think about it.
That particular podcast, this is the Busy Smalls podcast.
What episode was that? So we can refer to it.
This is the one that's coming out.
Okay, so it'll be out. Episode 35, yeah.
But yeah, his dad, Mr. Eugene Ortiz, he said that the first session he has with couples, he always tries to talk them out of getting married. Because he said, and he's real calm, real nice dude, but he's very intelligent. He's like, but if I can talk you out of it, then you don't need to get married.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And, you know, prior to, like, I know you've only been married once, but, I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, the divorce rate is half of people that get married.
Yeah, of course.
Divorced. So a lot of people have been divorced. And the thing is, like, the first go around, a lot of times people don't get it right because a lot of times you're young, you don't really know what you want. You know, there's a lot of factors and variables that can go into that. But at the same time, it's like, it seemed like the first go around, like it was kind of it seemed like a really hard, it almost seemed like a hard decision. Like I was really nervous about it, but I didn't know if that was like good nerves or bad nerves or whatever. And me and her ended up figuring out we just weren't compatible long term, and we co-parent really well now. It's all good. But like with Brittany, I just remember being like, this is a really easy decision to make, you know. And I'm like, well, that's how you should feel about it, because she was in the, luckily. And unfortunately for us both, but luckily for us both at the same time, we were both married really young and both went through the same thing. And she told me pretty much the same thing. She's like, dude, I was so nervous on my wedding day the first time around. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, retrospectively, she can be like, yeah, because it really wasn't what I should have been doing. You know, everything happens for a reason. And thank God I got the twins out of it.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, man, you know, you live and you learn and stuff like that. But a super easy decision where that's concerned. And man, we're just really, with everything that we're doing, it's kind of like you bring up the family thing. Me and you both are able to spend a lot of time with our family.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Even with how much we work, we're still able to spend a lot of time.
Well, they can be involved with it too. We're not in a corporate structure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of events it's just easy to involve the family, and that makes it very, very easy. And a lot of people looking at this right now may be like, it must be nice. Yeah, I mean, it is nice, but it comes with a lot of other sacrifices. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can never completely unplug, ever.
Right.
It's not a possibility. If you have a business, multiple businesses, you can't. Like, you have to always be engaged somehow. If you can, come fucking show me how. Right. Because it's really not possible. I mean, you still, at the end of the day, if something blows up, you have to be available, no matter what. Because if not, who else is your employees going to turn to? Your team.
Yeah.
So it comes with its pros and its cons. But the biggest pro out of all of it, I think, is the ability to manage your time, not based on someone else's decisions. Yeah. Like, it's up to you to make that time, but also to manage it, you know what I mean? And get things done and still make time for the family, and still make time for the clients, still make time for the team, and still meet deadlines,
I think I'm in a unique position too, because coming straight from a situation in which, I was full-time doing my own company, and then we collaborated on a lot of stuff. It's like, I think in a lot of ways, you could probably rely on me a lot more than, say, if it was just somebody you hired off the street.
For sure.
Because it's like, we live 8 minutes from each other,
yeah.
too, though. So that's another thing. It's like, it's 10 o'clock at night. Hey, dude, this is fucked up. Need some help.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I got you. But that's also a very unorthodox aspect of things, too. That's not a common.
No, it's not a common trait whenever it comes to people, even if they're in managing their own businesses and stuff. It's still not something that's common.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it makes a lot of difference. The thing with I don't know, man. I encourage everyone to do what they want to do. Yeah. If you want to go work for someone else, and when you leave and clock out, you don't have to worry about shit, do that. I mean, there's some good things in that. You don't take any of that home, or if you do, whatever. But like, I don't want to be in that position ever again. Yeah. I did it for a long time. I don't like it. I don't like if I fuck up, I want to do it because I did it. And I can't blame it on no one else. Nothing. I can't blame anything on anyone else. If I fuck up anything in any of these businesses, it's on me.
And Chris Holden made a good point about that at our BNI group the other day. He gave us 10 minutes, and then he said, he talked about, he learned in the, Chris Holden, Louisiana Stuffed Pistolettes.
Oh yeah.
He said that one of the main things that he learned out of, at least in the restaurant world, is that, the best thing to do whenever you make a mistake is to go ahead and own up to it right away and then move forward. But that's just the big, and that's, you talk about like putting out fires, making mistakes. I mean, yeah, man, it's like a client this morning. She messaged me, and I usually don't do these, but I help people out. I mean, whenever somebody has a loved one die and they want a video of the service, I don't particularly like doing it. It makes me sad. Yeah. But at the same time, I also know they're a lot more sad than I am, because I don't even know that person. So it's like, I'm not going to let them get in a position where somebody's coming and price gouging them. It's real cheap. I just help them out. But, I did this for this lady, and
be careful saying that on here. You're going to start getting bombarded with all these requests.
Ooh-wee.
Price might have to go up then.
But no, man, she, it'd been like a couple weeks since I got back with her, and it just completely, with the documentary and everything, it's spaced, and I just told her this morning, I said, she'd actually apologized for even reaching out again. I'm like, no, ma'am, like, I genuinely aim to honor the memory of your mother and your family. Y'all are good people. Essentially, like, you're not bothering me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I was very apologetic about, I let this slip. That's my fault. You know what I mean? Like, you don't make excuses and give people the runaround. I guess that's kind of my point.
Dude, you ain't lying, dude. I've been in a position where I had to deal with that every fucking day for like 8 years. Yeah. I had to be the one making excuses for someone else for not getting done, because once again, I didn't have complete control. Yeah. And I don't ever want to be in that position again, dude. And even before that, in corporate structure, I would have to just tell them something. I'm like, dude, I can't just tell them. Like, what are you talking about? Just tell them something. The fucking truth. How about that? Yeah. Hey, we don't have this equipment. We're looking everywhere, all over the United States, to see if we can ship it to this facility. Then I can haul ass it to you, but I don't know when it's going to get there. Yeah. Not, yeah, we got it. It's coming. It'll be there. Like, no, fuck that. That's not an answer. Or, hey, yeah, this project, someone's supposed to be working on this project, it's not fucking getting it done. Yeah. Like, so I'm going to have to figure something else out. That's what I wish I would have said a lot of times, but I couldn't say that because I was kind of, my hands were tied in position legally where it's like, I got to fucking say whatever whatever they want you to say.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Right.
If I fuck up or forget, I'll say it. That's why, dude, that's what's so crazy. My wife gives me shit all the time. She's like, you can't remember anything. I'm like, dude, I can. I just have to remember one thing at a time. And I have to have lists and calendars because there's too much information coming in constantly from every different direction for me to somehow say,
hold on. Hey, you're on a podcast right now. Hello? Say something. Yeah, they can hear you. What's up?
You're live.
Oh, no, she didn't like that.
She didn't like that, did she?
No, she does not like that. She's like Megan, dude. She's like, nah, you're not going to record.
I don't even know what I was talking about, but yeah, dude. Fun stuff.
Football. Yeah.
No, it's one of those things where you getting things done and then putting those tasks together, holding yourself accountable. But yeah, like I said, yeah, that's what I was saying, like dropping the ball, forgetting shit. Like I'm one of those people that so much information is coming in constantly that there's absolutely no way if I'm even a fucking superhuman to even think that I can remember every single bit of information that comes in. There's no way. There's no I don't know who you are if you can do that. If you are, you're probably Jesus touched you a couple extra times, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then you have other issues, you know what I mean? So like for me, I just have to try to document everything best way I can organize it and try to remember every single thing, whether it's a deadline, a small thing, a catering, a digital project, a social project, whatever it is, like a rental, like all this shit. It's like, dude, there's no way I could just remember everything. Yeah. So trying to keep all that organized is constantly a challenge, but I thrive in that shit, dude. I love it.
That's why I need to put things on the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't put something on the calendar yesterday or today or whenever that was today.
But yeah, man, and speaking on, information overload and, yeah, I mean, really just information overload in the digital age that we're in. I will say the abstinence, which I've hopped back on Facebook a few times in the past month, but it's been about a month since I've had the app on my phone.
Right.
And
you'll get on for the computer or something for a second.
Yeah. But I'll kind of keep up with people for a second and hop off. But I have noticed just I'm almost to the point where I don't really have an inner monologue now. I know we talked about that with Mark Pugh, but how I was like, how a third of the people in the world don't have like a little voice in their head or whatever.
We talked about that because I don't.
And I know you don't, but what's crazy is that when I shut that part of my life off, and I mean, really, dude, like since MySpace, I've had a social media account from 2007 until this 2024. So that's how many years is that? 17 years. Mm-hmm. So I mean, for the past,
it's over half of your life, by the way. Think about it.
Yeah, it's
over half of your life has been. You have given attention to something that is not technically a living.
It's not real.
It's not real.
It's not real. It's not tangible. Oh. And I think
yet.
Well, yeah.
It's coming. Have you seen the recent videos? The
Matrix.
Have you seen the recent videos, the Tesla videos?
Mm-mm.
I will look at them in the wall.
Okay, but yeah, dude. I really like. It's more of a sense of calmness. That makes sense. I don't know how else to explain that. I'll still get on LinkedIn. That's one thing, but that's not really, dude. It's just not. That is not like Facebook or Instagram. Or
LinkedIn's a good spot, man. It's a good spot to find very, very good information.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbiased information. I think it's probably the best place to look for that, for sure.
I don't know why. I just think my goal has been, for a long time, has just been to be able to just, even in stressful situations, still be able to be calm and work through them. Granted, you look at the documentary premiere the other night. That is completely reasonable to be stressed about that.
Of course, man.
Because you want it to be good. You give a shit. But at the same time, I'm talking about people worrying about, oh, well, I got to go drive over here to Fort Worth and do this job, and I got to come back in town and do this past weekend, had I been living had I been motivated by stress, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
I would have burned out.
A lot of, dude, this past week, I mean, we had so much shit going on. Like, yeah. Like, I'm trying to think of everything that went on last week.
We had a steak cook-off.
Well, before that, like, the largest catering I ever done.
Yeah.
And then something else the next day. The first week of me taking over a networking group.
Yeah.
And then the premiere.
Yep.
Where you were working, working on that, and then the cook-off. All the while you had to go out of town the night before and do a video, right? Like a music video.
Fort Worth.
Yeah. And then come back, do that event, the cook-off, and then you had to leave and go do another shoot.
A wedding, yeah.
Yeah, and then I had to do meal preps the next day. But that's every fucking week of our life, right?
That was exceptionally busy.
That one was exceptionally busy. This one's been a breath of fresh air because it's been only like 2 or 3 big tasks versus like 7. But you have to be able to take on that if you want to do this. If you want to grow and really do it right, you got to be able to sometimes just
we have to be able to
grit
do
your
this
teeth
until
and go.
we can scale
Exactly.
larger. And that's the thing. It's like we have to be able to handle an almost unreasonable amount of task at times to then be able to down the road, 2-3 years down the road, be able to be like, okay, now we can start delegating things. And the whole idea behind it, like, if you look at it from my standpoint, from your standpoint, you're the head of all of it. And then from my standpoint, I know what I know, and what I know is media production. Mm-hmm. So if I'm the head of that and I have people under me where I can delegate tasks to them, if each department head has the ability to then delegate, yes, that's going to take stress off of everyone, not even just the employees, but also us. And then, the ultimate goal, I mean, other than world domination, is just, to be able to do a podcast twice a week.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times if we want to.
That's the goal. I would love to do them 2 or 3 times a week for sure. But it's one of those things where we're not there yet.
No, absolutely not. But, and then also from the documentary side of things, that's something that, I want all of us to be involved, or whoever wants to be involved with that, but I want all of us to be involved with that at some capacity, because, I mean, the more I do this and the more we invest in equipment and things like that, that's going to be something that, that's just timeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, we find subjects that we're passionate about that we want to cover, and then, boom, that avenue, man, that for my main gig to be like doing this, and then I'm making documentary films and doing a podcast, bro, that's all I really care to do.
Yeah, man. If I had one job and I had to pick what it was, I would just want to sit down and do this every day. Yeah. But you got to get to a position to do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm still extremely passionate about everything else I have going on. Mm-hmm. But at some point, you're not going to keep doing the same thing forever. So it's like take that skillet, pass those values and knowledge down to a team, and then you just oversee it, and then you're able to do other things. Yeah. It doesn't mean like still your knowledge and everything you have in that can be handed, and it's still a product of you. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm not trying to scale into a corporation.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not about money for me at this point at all.
There's some pretty smaller firms. Like there was one, I remember when my ex-wife was at Tech, there was a seminar in which this guy who had a graphic design firm in New York City, he came down and spoke to, in the media department at Tech, there was like 50 students that showed up, and we're sitting in this lecture hall, and I attended it as well because, you didn't have to have a student ID to get in, you could just go. So we all sat down. I remember listening to that guy and a lot of things that he had to say. It was like, man, there are small, I remember him using the word, it was a holistic approach to design.
Yeah.
But he was, you could tell he was a very genuine dude. And that was one of the things he was talking about. He's like, man, we've gotten to work with Microsoft, we've gotten to work with the NFL. You just name it. And, but they're a small firm. They're not a major corporation. So, that's the thing, even from our standpoint, I see those types of things in our future for sure. If we just continue to do what we're doing and keep, punching up. Because, the idea is at the end of the day, no, you don't want to be a major corporation per se, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that your clients can't be as small as, a meal prep service.
Yeah.
And as big as, Ford Motors.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you do stuff for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, those companies still, they hire out someone. And if they need to, for certain tasks, and if they need to, it doesn't have to be the big box firm,
Right.
For us, I'm going to treat everyone exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Whether you're paying me $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month.
Right.
You're getting the same treatment. What you see is what you get. And I'm not gonna sway my beliefs. I'm not gonna sway the way I act. I'm not gonna sway the way I dress. If you don't want to hire me because of how I look, this podcast, what I talk about, my tattoos, the way I talk sometimes, then fuck you.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, because if you want to hire me, I'm gonna give you every single fucking thing I have in the tank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think that everyone deserves a chance. And if you're willing to take a chance on me and spend your money and time and invest it in me, then I'm going to give you every single thing I got. And if you're not, and you don't agree with how I am, that's fine. I'm nothing against you. I'm not saying fuck you in a bad way. I'm just saying,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
We have no
nothing against anybody, dude. I don't have any competitors. I don't care. I've never spent 1 minute looking to see what anyone else is doing in this industry, unless I'm just looking for inspiration.
When I stopped doing that, I started feeling a lot better, and that was one of the things too. I remember there's an individual in this market that also does what I do and does a really good job at it, and that individual passing me business was a testament of like, okay, well, you've been comparing yours, and I was early on. I was comparing myself to this individual, and I realized they saw my work and saw it to be good enough to be like, I'll 100% refer to that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty dope.
Having no ego and realizing that sometimes you're not the best fit for someone, or sometimes someone can do a better job than you, or sometimes maybe that's just not the best project for you, is extremely, there's something very, very mature in that, and it takes a long time to get there. And there's individuals that live their entire life based on their lifestyle or how they're brought up in business, or just how they operate on a day-to-day, to where they'll never achieve that. I will gladly hand a client to someone else,
right?
If I don't think it's a great fit, or if we're overwhelmed, or if they're not a great client for me. They might be a great client for someone else, or if they're not willing to pay what we're asking for, then go, hey, here are some other options for you that might be better. Case in point, I had a conversation the other day where someone messaged me and said, it was like one of those tag refer things, and I think Megan reached out and they messaged me, and they were asking a price point and something. I gave it to him. He said, I didn't realize it cost that much. I was like, well, this is my rate. This is how long it takes to do it, and that's the total. There are some other subscription-based services you may can subscribe to that might be less expensive, but here's what you get if you do it with us, and here's what you get when you do it with them. Nothing against them. That might be the best model for you. But it's an industry, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in even food stuff, like catering, like whatever. There's times where we shut down operations, and I'm like, hey, and I'm not even talking about catering. I'm talking about meal preps. Like, we shut down operations for the week. We're all going out of town to compete in a competition for cooking here, or for barbecue. Here's 4 different other local companies that I think are all great companies. Guys, call them this week. Sorry, we can't hook you up. You know what I mean? Sorry about it. Or in rental, in business, like in equipment rental, I'm like, hey, I don't have nothing for you, but I know these other guys over here do.
Right.
Like, if everyone could just operate that way. But I was in oil and gas for so long. It's so funny. And even dealing with these old heads, bro, these old heads that they're contractors and shit, like the old plumbers and electricians, you know what I'm talking about. They'll get pissed off, and they're so worried about their competition. They're like, I needed so many calls this week, and so they're calling somebody else, or I can't believe they called so-and-so. They ain't worth the shit. Well, if they have a reputable business in this area, they're probably a decent contractor.
Yeah.
So that's probably not the case. You're just upset that you didn't get the call. Well, why didn't you get the call? Did you follow up on the referral? Are you doing proper marketing? Like, that's probably why you didn't get the call. Or did they just know someone else? You know what I mean? Or maybe they thought that person was a better fit for that project versus you. That you just say, oh, they got the call, they called so-and-so, they're not worth a shit. Well, dude, similar thing in oil and gas. This used to happen all the time. We had this old salesman. I'm not gonna mention any names, but I don't even know if he's still alive. Old fellow, great guy, great guy, super great salesman. Like one of them old school salesmen, like old school car salesman, would beat the door down all the time. But if we didn't get that call, he would be so upset. Well, I can't believe they called so and so. But this is what he would say. Hell, I've been out there every week giving them steaks and giving them coffee and doing this and doing that. And I'd be like, hey man. So you're upset that you spent time to go buy this guy something, hand it to him, and you think just because you brought him something every single week that
you're entitled
to his business. Mm-hmm. But did you ever sit down and get to know this guy? Also, do you know the ins and outs of the entire project? Do you even think, are we the best fit for this job? Or are you just looking at the bottom line? And it was always just, well, I assumed that since I went out there once a week and bullshitted with him for 10 minutes and handed him some coffee or some donuts or sausage biscuit or whatever the hell the guy liked or whatever, I assumed that he's going to call me. And since he didn't, fuck him. And that's not the way to be, man. But that's how I see this shit every single day in every business. In the rat race of these people trying to beat the other ones, if everyone would just collaborate and realize that there's not enough businesses to serve the population. Yeah. So if you all just get in your lane and double down on what you're good at, there will be plenty to go around. But there just is not enough. There's not enough small businesses to serve these areas around anywhere. Yeah. So like that's why you can start a new business and flourish very well, very quickly if you do the right thing, because there's so much work out there.
All right.
And it's never an economy thing. Especially like contracting and shit, you know, like, dude, marketing, that's going to be like, if you're a business, you got to market.
Yeah.
And if you're a plumber, you got motherfuckers, everyone's got to use plumbing.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a need for it. If you're in catering, anything, like motherfuckers got to eat. Yeah. You know what I mean? They just have to.
That is the one market that will never go anywhere.
No, I mean, will they cut back on some of the expenditures? Yeah, but that's just when you pivot.
Yeah, but
make it very, very hard for them not to call you.
I mean, from a standpoint of from a standpoint of meal preps, though, I mean, it baffles me how many people actually cannot cook for themselves. That's
the meal prep thing. The meal prep thing is, here's the thing though. If I can spend $100 on meals a week versus going to spend $150 at the grocery store and don't have to do shit, it's a good strategy. Now, can you go spend $80 at the grocery store and cook enough meals for the whole week? Probably so. Mm-hmm. But do you have the time to sit down and do it properly? And are those meals really going to be the best for you? That's the thing. Can you go get some hamburger helper and some shit and throw some shit together and have a really, really cheap week and feed the family? Yeah. But is that what you want to be putting in the family's body? You know what I mean? Or do you want something that is cooked, that you know is cooked by the freshest ingredients, you know, every single week?
I can't wait till my toddlers stop eating like toddlers. Well, they're not really toddlers anymore, but still, I mean, it's just like small kids, man. It's hard to get them to eat like. Well, no, take that back. Marsha will eat anything.
Yeah.
You put in front of her. Nora, and Marsha wouldn't always like that, but Nora, it's like peanut butter jelly, mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Cheerios in the morning.
Okay.
I mean, but that's like the bananas, any kind of fruit. I'll give her that.
That's good.
She will eat any kind of fruit, but it's like I try to keep them away from a whole lot of processed stuff. The only thing I keep for them that's processed, I get the little mini Oreos. So we've done something good. It's some mini Oreos.
Yeah.
But even like with the popsicles, I don't get
You get the fresh fruit ones or whatever. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we grew up on those little cheap, shitty ones, them Cool Ice or whatever they were. But I'm extremely militant on that. I'm not the best to speak on this. We don't have anything in the house bad.
Yeah.
And the grandparents will show up with some bad shit, and wife gets pissed. I get pissed. Like if we buy snacks, we buy something we know has 5 or less ingredients. So there's not even anything bad in the house. So if they all want something, they do want something else. I mean, we've had this conversation. So people are going to talk shit, but I don't care. Like sometimes I'm like, this is what we made. This is how my mom raised me. This is what I made. Yeah. They're very healthy options. There's multiple options here. You can eat this or you can not eat.
Yeah.
That's where we're at sometimes.
We'll get to that point.
It happens. It's a lot easier when they get where they can actually talk to you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Like,
it's a little easier, man. It takes a little while to get there, though.
But yeah, the main thing with Nora. I mean, dude, the thing is, if she ends up wanting to be a vegetarian, cool. She will eat eggs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I can teach her the right meal plan because I did do the vegetarian thing for a couple of years. I felt really good, but at the same time, I had to supplement.
There's something.
To be okay.
Here's my hard stand on this. I'll never change my views on this. It is perfectly okay to say I don't like that. Mm-hmm. It is perfectly not okay to not even try it, refuse to try it, refuse to eat it, and then say I don't like that. So my stance is always, you're going to try it, and if you don't like it...
Oh, she does have to try
it. Right. That's what I'm saying. But like most people won't even have that conversation because it's so much easier just to say they don't eat that, this is what they like. Yeah. But they don't even know what the hell they like. Yeah. Because, dude, I didn't have sushi till I was 18 years old. Didn't even like, you know what I'm saying? So like, you don't know what I just heard it and was like, ugh, you know, like you don't know what you like until you try it. And so like having that conversation with a parent is just like, dude, you have to make them fucking try it before you tell me they don't like it or they won't eat it or they will only eat this. Well, if that's all you fucking buy them, but if you don't buy that, guess what? They gotta eat something because they gotta live and they get hungry enough. They're gonna eat whatever you say. Hey, you gotta try this. Yeah. But I understand too. Fast-paced world, being busy. The path of least resistance sometimes is a lot better and easier on parents, man. Especially when you have multiple children. And you having twins too, that makes it even. Dude, it's double time at the same time. It's hard. And then,
like
a new
Nora, one. I just don't want her to be miserable. Like she will sometimes. Like in occupational therapy, she's tried. Like they make her try stuff too. You know, like because they have certain ways of going about it too. That's like in a
less militant way, like I'm talking about.
Yeah. But like it's like
white glove approach.
She even told him like she's like she likes ham, she likes turkey, stuff like that. It's just to her, it's okay. She basically tells him like, it's okay. Like it didn't make me want to puke. But like, you make Nora eat like roasted potato, dude. She don't like roasted potatoes, dog. Like stuff like that, like something that might be a texture thing or whatever it is. But baby girl put stuff like that in her mouth and be like, ugh. Like,
isn't it funny too how much your palate shifts every couple years? I still to this day absolutely hate cucumbers and tomatoes, but I've tried them. And I made myself try them. So if my son says, I do not like that, and I've had him try it enough times, I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll try at least to not give you that. Like we were making food the other night, and we had some gluten-free Cajun chicken pasta we had made with some grilled chicken. We'd actually made it for preps, and we had some zucchini. He don't like zucchini. I've made him try it enough to know he doesn't like zucchini. So we try to stay away from that. I'm just like, well, you can have the pasta and the chicken, and we'll, supplement the greens with something else. Yeah. Whereas my daughters would prefer just the zucchini and the meat. It's perfectly fine. Actually, even better. We're having less carbs here. You know what I mean? And you're getting the carbs from a whole food.
Right.
But yeah, so there's scenarios like that happen. And I mean, look, man, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. But also, like, dude, how about let's try to fucking live longer? You know what I mean? And put things in our body that we know where they came from.
I think they say like if you're running off of carbs, actually I know this is a thing. Hold on, it's 40. If you're running off of carbs, 40% of your macronutrients need to be carbohydrates, whereas I think it's.
Oh, you're talking about when you go if you go full on carnivore and you're burning more fat. You're fat for your energy versus protein.
Well, no, if you're burning carbohydrates for fuel, I think it's actually half of your macronutrients are carbohydrates, 30% are proteins, and 20% are fats. Right. Which I've actually kind of found that model. I do feel better, but then recently, like, dude, today all day. We know yesterday I had dairy, but today all day, no dairy. Night and day. Yeah. Stomach feels way better. I think.
Just get rid of it.
Well, it's like what you're talking about though. How your palate changes. Also, you can grow allergies too.
Well, your gut enzymes shift, and it could be a multitude of things. Maybe you quit drinking and you drink for 10 years. Well, guess what? Your gut enzymes are going to change, and so things affect you differently because you either created a tolerance to something that then offset something else. Right. So it's foolish to think just because you got healthy in one sector, that maybe something else is not affecting you somewhere else. Right. And maybe you stop something long enough, you quit smoking. Yeah. So maybe you quit smoking, so it changed the way your body processes things, and then it just, you were already having issues probably from dairy, but then maybe it just woke up another neuron, was like, oh shit, this is, you know what I mean?
Well, when you're smoking, and that's what, I mean, these are bad for you, but they are not, you cannot convince me that these are nearly as bad for you as smoking half a pack or more.
No, because you're that's just nicotine. If we were talking about smoking, we're talking about nicotine plus tar
plus
in your lungs,
plus all kinds of chemicals, additives, or whatever. Yeah. It's like you hurt so much on a daily basis when you're smoking that you don't even realize that when you actually quit, you're like, oh, like getting up in the morning doesn't hurt. Mm-hmm. You know, like just that, like something as simple as that. And not only that, like your chronic pain lessens. Like there's a lot of things, like you can taste better, you can smell better, you can even, like, your eyesight actually is better when you don't smoke. I mean, when you're getting smoke in your eyes, because it's in your eyeballs when you're smoking. Your eyes are open when you're smoking most of the time. It's like when that stuff gets in your eyes all the time. I mean, it's impairing.
Unless it's right after sex and your eyes are closed and you're serious.
You're savoring it like a good Frenchman would do. But man, it's smoking is just it's an attack on the body, man.
Yeah, man, I'm not an advocate for that. I will consume tobacco here and there, but I'm not an advocate for smoking at all. I can't stand it.
I mean, I think a celebratory stogie is okay every now and again, but man, you can't smoke every day and expect to feel okay. It's just not going to happen. You know, like even, you know, I know some people that are hardcore, man, like they work out every day and do all kind of shit, and, you know, not naming any names, but
I already know you're talking about. I want to give them some shit right now. We're going to get them to quit smoking.
But
we're going to get them to quit smoking.
Yeah, it pretty painful.
Yeah,
pretty painful.
Well, let's wrap this thing up, dude. We got to do a tequila talk here in a few minutes.
Tequila talk
when the boys get here.
Next on Frequency Interrupted.